Um, in a week, here is it in this room? Is going to be our jewelry symposium. And you'll have to look in the newsletter for all this stuff, for all the details. That's going to be October 8th, and it's an all-day thing. And is there still spots open?
Yes.
So it's a thing you have to register. Can you come the day of the symposium and register? You don't know.
I don't know if there's space or not.
Okay. Okay. But there's quite a few spaces left. Then we are October 27th. We're having an opening at the Washington Convention Center, and we're having a show there. It was a jury show, and I wanted to thank everybody that brought in pieces. We're going to be setting it up this week, well, right after this weekend, but the opening isn't until October 27th. So, and it's going to be up all through the fall, through November and December, and then it comes down in the beginning of January. So if you don't get to the opening, you get to go and see that show. What else? We're going to be having November 4th. Lori Talcott is going to do a free lecture. It's at the university here. Let's see. Then there is November 5th. This is a busy weekend that we're doing stuff. November 5th, we're going to have a work day. We're going to be making jewelry for women's shelters, and I'm going to let Nikki Lippy explain about that.
This is an idea that I got. A friend of mine is a lawyer, and she was talking about giving free legal advice. And I was sitting there thinking, gosh, I can't give legal advice. I mean, I'm just a jeweler. What can I give? And then I thought, I could give jewelry, and that's something that only we as jewelers can do, because this is a skill that we have, and it's very special. And so I got in touch with 6 women's shelters, and they are really delighted about being the recipients of jewelry, which will be stored in a cupboard. And when women arrive at the shelter, when they're leaving the shelter, their birthday, a job interview, just any time that they deem an occasion, they'll have this jewelry to give to the women. And we're going to be making earrings, necklaces, and bracelets. And this is an opportunity to use up all those old beads or earring wires or chains, odds and ends that you've had sitting around your studio forever, or to do like I did and decide how much you're willing to donate and just go to the bead store and buy a bunch of beads, and then I'm just going to order a bunch of ear wires from Rio Grande. But it's going to be a collective thing. Even if you have things you don't think you can use, somebody else might be able to use them. And I really encourage you to come and maybe not stay the whole day, but just come for a few hours, or tell people that you know to come for a few hours, and just contribute to this, because I think it's a really I just think that it's a really special kind of thing.
It's not for members only.
Thank you.
Anybody.
Yeah, anybody can come to this event. Thanks, Nikki. We're also going to have a general meeting November 10th, and we're going to get Phil Baldwin to do a pricing lecture for us, meaning showing us how to price our work, which is going to be great. And then there's the Christmas party, the ornament swap, and that's December 11th, and that's going to be at my house. So, and nobody's ever been to my house. I don't even have board meetings at my house. It's just too far away. But there was one other thing. Jennifer Paris came across some deal thing. She wants to come up and tell everybody about this rolling mill deal that
any rolling mill that we buy as a group. But we can buy any rolling mill, so not everybody has to purchase the same rolling mill. And John, and I will give the phone number if anybody wants that, will talk to anyone and tell them the specifications and help figure out which is the best rolling mill for you. Size-wise, he's got some great deals and really good rolling mills. And they seem to have some of the best prices. And the telephone number is 1-800-772-3456, and tell them you're from the Seattle Metal Skills, and he'll know.
Great. Now, one other thing, the day of the work day, is that Pratt, right? No, it's at North Seattle. For the women's shelters. Thomas Mann is going to be in town, for anybody that knows him, and he actually wanted to do some kind of a lecture for us, and we told him that he was too late. But he wants to come to the work day, and then Mickey Libby's going to have like a little potluck party after that event, and you can talk to Thomas Mann, and we told him next time he has to tell us further in advance. And then other than that, I do have, for anybody that isn't a member, you want to become a member, I do have the most recent newsletter, and then there's the registration form in there. And then we do have a directory printed up, and I'm either going to give them out, we're definitely going to give them out at the Christmas party, but if you're not planning on going to that, then what you'll need to do is you'll need to send a self-addressed stamped envelope. A big one? A big envelope, like this big. And you can get a directory. It's actually a very good directory. It's not just the members of the Metal Guild, but it's all past members of the Metal Guild, and it's really a good thing. We just can't afford to send them all out to everybody. Yeah, 52 cents stamp. And now, I'm going to hand the floor over to Jonathan Briggs.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. Tonight's presenter is Marcia MacDonald, who's originally from the East Coast, now living in Eugene, where she's freelance designer and jewelry maker and teacher. And she's also having her work at the Mia Gallery. First opening is this coming Thursday. And as a very special treat for us all, after the presentation, she's going to be doing a preview of all the pieces she's going to have in that show. So stick around afterwards and you can talk to her and see her latest work. So take it away, Marcia.
Thanks. Thank you very much, and thank you guys for doing everything you've done to get me here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
As soon as I quit being nervous, I'll speak normally. Okay. Slide projectors. I feel like I'm in remote control over here. I'm just going to start talking about, you'll kind of get a picture of me just by seeing all the slides. It's going to be a slide view evening. So if I go too fast, tell me to slow down. If I start talking too much, say, speed it up. So, and if you do have some pressing questions, either write it down or yell it out, and I'll try to answer it. Okay? So you're all already seated, so that doesn't help, but that was the house I grew up in on the left. And then I always wanted to be a rocket scientist, but it required too much math, so I decided to do art instead. When I went to undergraduate school at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro and got my degree in design, and these were just things that I did that actually ended up paying part of my way through school, just projects that I got, and then, word of mouth got it so that I did this stuff, and then I ended up, is that in focus over there? It's really much different. That was just a photograph I did in school for a relationship between two people, and I was really afraid that he was going to turn around and see me write was, we had to build a cardboard vehicle that would carry my teacher 60 feet. And this got in the newspaper and in the school magazine, and that got printed in the school magazine, and it just was so much fun to work on all these different things. And I did fibers, and then I did jewelry, and Jonathan, these are the worst slides I have. My photography teacher in school said, "Oh, I'll take these pictures for you. You should do it on a red background. It looks so great." And I was like, "Oh my God." But anyway, I mean, looking back on these, it's pretty funny, but I thought I had a lot of pride with these at a certain point. But I had these two little Indian men, which it's very obvious they're men. I was looking at a lot of different kind of imagery, and I was doing really flat stuff, and my design background kept me doing really flat work, and so I was learning piercing and simple things, and that's the first necklace I ever made, that chain. And then, you know, the earrings, and I have to say that at this time I was really happy, and that I was really happy to make jewelry and getting the opportunity to make jewelry, and because I had always liked it a whole lot, and so I was getting my first thing with, you know, making this kind of stuff, and so I decided after undergraduate school that I would go to Penland Craft School and study metals more. And I went there on scholarship, and I ended up staying for 3 months and just got one more scholarship after another. And I studied with a whole lot of great people. This workshop I studied with Carol Kamada, and the project on the left was an assignment to do an ordinary object out of unordinary materials. And I was well on my way to leaving the man that I had been living with for 8 years, so I thought, well, I'll do a wedding cake. And then this piece over here, I mean, of just like toys, and I just had a blast. And this piece was a homage to Surratt, and the paintbrush is something you can wear, and then so are the paint blobs, you can wear them all over. So I was learning anodized aluminum, and I was working with wood, and I was all over the place because I was just having a blast, you know, going to the clay studios and up the glass, and I was just out of control. And I had so much fun, and the energy there was so great. And this was a house project in Carol's class. And these were just some pieces that I did, and I got these photographs when I ended up going to grad school. But this was just the kind of stuff that I was doing there. I was just playing a lot, working with flat things, and doing some collage stuff. And I remember when I took these pieces to grad school, Fred Wold said, you know, this one over here, he said, I like it, but it's really overworked. And I'll never forget that. And I was crushed then, but it makes sense now. And I learned how to etch. I took a class with Marianne Schur, and look, this is Babe in the kitchen. I kind of had this thing with the kitchen, which I'll get into later, but so I did this drawing, and I love to draw, and got my ceramics fixed, and that was the first bracelet I ever made, actually in undergraduate school, but then photographed it later. And I did lady diving, this dancing woman and brass, and I just, you know, everything's really flat at this point. I'm not like moving into any kind of three-dimensionality really. There's gesture, there's drawing, but I haven't done it yet. So I decided I wanted to go to grad school. So I packed up all my stuff, and I made these groovy little black velvet bags for each one of the pieces that I made at Penland. And I went to the Swain School of Design in New Bedford, Massachusetts, and applied for grad school, and they took me immediately because they needed students, I think. And I had a lot of enthusiasm too, and I hit it off with Fred Wold. And I decided to go live with my grandmother for the months prior to starting school in that year, January. And this here on the right, she lives in Old Lyme, Connecticut, or she did, I should say. And I lived with her in this house where my great-grandfather lived and worked as an impressionist painter in the late 1800s, early 1900s. That's my grandmother on the right, and that's her father-in-law. His name is Wilson Irvin. So these are pictures of him, and it was a wonderful transition from leaving this person I was with, going to Penland, feeling wild, and about to embark on this graduate school thing. And so I got this wonderful time with my grandmother. These were the paintings that I've grown up with. I've had art in my life, all my life. I had the good fortune of having these paintings
everything, and I did, and I started looking at all these new things, and that was my view of the studio, that was my bench, and everybody likes to see those shots, right? And so, I mean, I would walk along the docks and take pictures of stuff and rusted steel and anything I could, find, and I was just having a blast. And so these were the first pieces. I was determined that the piece that Fred said, was overworked. I thought, okay, let's just keep going with this idea. And it said somehow she thought it would be different. It is. So, and I actually just did a piece recently with the same title, and you'll see it later. But that's sort of a philosophy that I've had, and it's all okay. And that things aren't always how you want them to be, but it's all right because they're the way they are. So he didn't like me either. But so I was learning all this new stuff and casting, which if you know who Fred Wall is, he's a great man, great caster, and he was teaching me all kinds of things. And I did a hollow form bracelet. Eleanor Modi came, did a workshop, and we took it from her, and I said, oh great, I'm going to make this bracelet, and it's this huge piece, and those of you that are taking the workshop this weekend will get to see these pieces. But I started drawing this piece on the left in my notebook, and I was drawing all these groovy little art marks all over the, I love to draw, so I was drawing this form and everything, and then I was drawing these little art marks, and Fred's kind of trendy, maybe you should put some imagery in that's about you. And I thought, wow, boing, screw in the light bulb. I thought, that's so good. And so I did the ladders and steps because I felt like I was at a different place than everybody else when I come to school. So it ended up being, it was a good pivotal piece. This piece was a chair piece that I did. I was learning how to do hinges, and they're a little kind of art mark, very stylized, graphic thing, and the seat goes up and you wear it and then it flops down when you move that form. It was the most technically difficult thing I think I've done up to this point, but it was fun. During school, Fred quit and Susan Hamlet didn't get reappointed, so the program fell apart, and I had moved all the way up there. So they said, well, you can just stay in the studio, till things get going. They'll get going. And I thought, okay, I have faith in this. This is good. I'm glad that I don't have to be in grad school right now anyway. This is too scary. So I just started making all this jewelry, and I ended up getting in a show, and this one's called Another One Got Away, but that's all right. She still got herself. And the fish swivels, and it's this brooch about, 7 inches long. The stab comes out, and it's just this kind of triptych film strip kind of idea, Am I going too fast? Am I okay? Fred Wall, I love this picture of him, and I love him because he's just larger than life, so I had to throw that in there. And he really helped me learn how to look at things and helped me look at edges and detail, and I just love him. And so, anyway, here's another one. She's gone now, no more speaking secret alphabets. Just about communication with people. I've had this, starting to have this run in my work where I'm dealing a lot with personalities and people and relationships between people. I put the drawings in because I think people like to know, do you do your drawing first and then do the piece? And so much of my drawings look so much like the piece that I make that it's sort of scary. But because sometimes I don't feel like making them afterwards. But this was Babe in the Kitchen. This was sort of a self-portrait, parts of it anyway. Because I used to cook a lot, and so I did a whole series of these, and these utensils, and loved doing this, loved making these miniature things, and working on the hinges and her arms moved, and I did Babe going out on the town. She had a pocketbook and pearls, and I did Babe's home repair, and she had a screwdriver and a hammer and all this stuff. So, I'm staying pretty graphic, kind of cartoony at this point, I think, and it's all so good in hindsight, And, but I think those earrings over there were really fun for me to make, and I think I secretly want to be a dollhouse furniture maker. So now the secret's out, right? So during this year, I just made all this jewelry, and I got a show in Boston, and then I got acquainted with the Society of Arts and Crafts, and so it was good because I was starting to show stuff, and then those are my parents. That was actually my graduation thesis party. And so I've done these little homage to parent hearings and people things. And so this was 1987, 88, this time. And I did this mural on the left. It was just stuff to do in school, and I worked for this catering company, and I managed a gourmet food shop, so there's food like in my life all the time. And I love to draw, so I got hired to do that, and I got a lot of money. It was great. And I did that one. Where am I? That stuff. Sorry. I don't remember.
It happens to everybody.
I know, but I don't think any of them are upside down, but this happens, right? Can you reverse it one? Where is she? I mean, I can't.
She probably can't read. So she's switching around.
Huh.
Yeah.
So these drawings here. I started looking at African grain spoons and stuff, and school started back. And so I just started looking at I took an African art history class, and I just started thinking about utensils and things that meant something to me. So I started this whole series of utensils, which led me to where I'm standing. I hope. Yeah. There you go. Thanks.
Marcia, what year? Not right now, but.
It's 1988. Like, I started in 87 and finished in 90. So it's midway. And so I started looking, I don't know if you're familiar with these, but they're like big grain spoons. Like you go to a market and you buy bulk food. And I just thought they were so cool, and I thought, great, I'll just knock off this idea and put my own imagery on top. Well, I never really got into that. I mean, I had more fun drawing these. Thank you very much for fixing that. So I just did a lot of drawing. Oh, I'm going forward, sorry. Oh, what did I do? I hit the wrong one. No, now that all spaced me out. Sorry. Okay, there. Which one? This one? Yeah. I have so many controls I have to deal with. I'm scared. Okay, so I just started doing all these drawings. I actually wish I had made t-shirts out of that one on the left. I was just trying to think, how many variations of fork and utensil can I come up with? And so I just threw these in just because I just am trying to get you in the frame of mind, like how crazy I was thinking. I was just like drawing everything, just having a blast. So the first thing I did was, I was having a great time because I got to go over to the wood shop, talk to all the wood guys, and they helped me carve this Lady Diving spoon. I didn't do anything. It's kind of stuck. Should I move it? Hey, Susanna. Can somebody tell her to sort of slide that over a little, please? big diving spoon, and I carved the wood, and my committee hated the paint job, and I don't blame them. But,
We have someone stationed in the room back there.
it really worked great at home. Sorry. So I started thinking about marriage, and Ken's on the other side. Phil will arrive in a minute. She stood him up, he stood her up. And thinking about, like, the American dream of getting married and having kids and extends and all that kind of stuff that still hasn't happened. But I think that's where I was thinking, so I thought, and the whole idea of utensils and domesticity, and so I was trying to pull all these ideas together and do the next piece that I'll get to. There, right on. So there's Ken. And of course I grew up with these guys and played with them and loved to play with Barbie. Loved to decorate their houses and play with their tools and dress them up and stuff. And that's Ken with his typewriter at the end there. So I did this thing called the American Dream course, and I did tons of drawings. I mean, it was really one of the most technically difficult things I'd ever done, like doing this hinge so that it opened up, and then, setting all these stones and turning the wood and blah, blah, blah. And it just was really, I learned so much. If I had ever thought that I would do this piece and it would have been so hard, I probably wouldn't have done it, which is still the way I feel about everything that I do today. I just feel like I learned so much, and then I sold it, in Boston, and it felt great. So anyway, they slammed me in the review. So I left. They said, looks really great from this side, but I'm really sorry, but you've really got to work on a few things out. I mean, I had brought them cookies, and I had like homemade cookie cutters that I made of metal, so I had a nice working spoon, cookie cutters, chocolate and vanilla dough. I mean, the whole thing was just, and my committee loved me as a person, but they were really, the work wasn't where they wanted to be at, which I hated them for it then, but then now I love them for it. So I went on vacation, and I prayed that maybe I should just quit school. And I started asking myself all these questions, and so I started thinking about women in kitchens, and that's how I looked when I got home from my review. And I started thinking about women in kitchens, and what do we do in kitchens, and how they've changed through the years, and utensils, and sound optics, and things that we use every day, and what that all meant to me, and my relationship that I left, and everything, and kids with, where all that stuff starts, And that's me, with my early fascination with the kitchen, and this is me getting my little dream kitchen. Look at the little turkey and the rotisserie. I mean, the whole thing was, I was beside myself when I got that home. It had miniature utensils, it had little pots and pans. So I'm like thinking back, I'm thinking, how long has this fascination been with me, compulsion or whatever you want to call it. And I started looking at things that I really love. Because I thought, okay, look, making these objects from scratch is driving me out of my mind. I mean, it's just too much for me. I'm going to start with something else. So I started looking at cool tools and kitchen utensils that have been around for a long time, and things that are warm and have texture. And I looked in my grandmother's cabinets, and I started looking everywhere. I went to yard sales. I started collecting everything. And I thought, I gotta start making something. I'm collecting too much stuff. So I thought, I gotta get to work. Supergirl. So I thought, well, what else? Okay, so I've got the utensils. I've got this idea that I'm interested in the kitchen. So now what? Okay, so let's go back. Let's start thinking about collage and things that I'm interested in organizing and this compulsion for collecting and putzing around, and like, this is a card I just found on the left, and I took a photograph of it because it's exactly the way my bedroom looked when I was a teenager. This is my house on the right now. It's Chris's pieces on that shelf. Anyway, and so is Alora's. Anyway, I just love to organize stuff, and I sometimes putz a lot because I just love to put things in space. And I looked at artists that like to use found objects, and I just was looking everywhere. Collage and Picasso and Duchamp and Man Ray and Cornell, and this was what I was wanting to do. I wanted something like this. I wanted this kind of feel. And, I just responded to these rivets, and I wasn't always sure why. I just collected these images, and I thought, great. So, how can I put this in? Oh, yeah. So I'm thinking of all this stuff. And I was also thinking about words and how much words play a part in our lives, and how much they mean and how much meaning they have, and how we're bombarded by words. And so when I get to the pieces that I started doing, I saw that car in Memphis, and it was in Nashville. And I thought it was so great that I had that postcard of that car on the left, and it's like, times haven't changed, have they? So, words, okay? So I get back to grad school. I decided to buck off and then just go back. These were the first two pieces I did when I got back to grad school. This piece on the left is called Speaking Secret Alphabets. This piece on the right is called Rattle for Sick Children. And my committee loved me again. And the one on the right was like one that really kind of did it, I think. And that's the thesis body that I did when I was in school. So this one's called She Knew Her Options, and you can't see very well, but there's a story stamped in to the back of where all those forks, so you have to hold it up and all these forks are staring you in the face, and you read this story. And all the text I wrote, and I like to write stream of consciousness, poetry, words, short stories. And so I stamped all that stuff one by one. This one's called Lydia Ann. I can tell you about a lot of what these are all about, but it could take a while, so I just sort of go through them. If you want to know, though, I have my pieces here. No, but this piece was about a journey, and it's about a little kid and growing up, and the whole story is about my mom and being a little kid and playing outside, watching her water the roses on this trellis, and this boat that I carved. The whole thing is about a journey of life and how things are different when you are little and they change when you get older. This one is called Eagle Lock Chess Piece, and this was kind of something I felt like I had to do. It wasn't something that went over big with those guys because the big Joseph Cornell conversation came up, and what are you doing? We really like the hybrid object forms you're making, but my rebellious nature did whatever I wanted, and so I went ahead and plowed away and did this one as well. And at the time, my brother was in prison, and I decided that I would do a piece directly for him. He's out now and studying Carbondale, doing great. And anyway, he's just this dear person to me, and I had to do this piece about that, so I did it. And so you got to do that sometimes. So then I did this whole vanity set thing, and I started looking back at Barbie. Look at her right there with the breast thing showing. I love that picture. And I started thinking, how long have I been worried about how I look and how women are perceived, and the whole story like that. And I just thought, I got to do a vanity set. So this was my first brush. And all the pieces are pretty intense. This one's called Stir Your Hair, Brush Your Suit. It's all about all the things we have to do in our life, and being really frenzied, and how do you make work, and be a wife, and do the things, and look good, and, voila. And I just felt like I should do some pieces that address that. This one's called it actually is backwards. Oh well. It says fork and stuff like that. This was the drawings and the preliminary drawing for that other one, and this is the comb out display. This is my hair along the back. So I did 4 pieces in this thing, and I was going to end up doing a tray and everything, so the whole thing got that elaborate, and I had to graduate, so. So I was happy doing these pieces, and I love the technical parts of this. This one's called Everyday Girl, Iron Mirror, excuse me. And the trivet has a poem silk screened in it backwards so that when you sort of hold it up to the mirror to see the poem, you can read it. And the silk screen is in the shape of a woman's body, the way I did all tight and everything. So, I mean, I just had so much fun mixing all these materials. And the last piece was called Sensible Number 5. And there's text all the way around that band there. And there's these hard nails, and you would never want to brush your hair with it. It's so heavy, it would probably mar you for life. So, and this one's called Hard Life Scrub Brush, and it's all about sex. And this one is called Self-Sustained. This is a weird piece. This one I did because a guy, I was at the Y, and like I was taking a shower, and this man like comes up, and his head like comes up underneath the shower. And I just felt so violated. And I mean, I'm in the middle of doing this vanity set, and then I mean, this weird experience happened, and I thought, wow, that's pretty weird. I mean, I'm just like, I'm like in this little space, you know, and then this thing happened, and so I went to my studio and started this piece, and so, and then I graduated. The show went well, they liked me, and everything went well, and I learned a lot, and during my end of graduate school, I applied for a residency at Oregon School of Arts and Crafts in Portland, and I got it. So 4 days after my pieces showing up, I found out I got it, so that meant I was going to be moving. So I took my last New England trip and drove cross country. Started at Niagara Falls, and just drove by myself with all my stuff and all my found objects and all my tools, and got really tired. And then I got to like the most beautiful place in the entire world in Banff, and I just thought I had wished somebody was with me. I could not believe it. I mean, coming from New England, I thought, oh, surely we have mountains in New England. There was nothing like being here. So then I arrived, and I had a house to move into for free, and a studio, and money every month for a whole year. And now I have 2 more slide carousels in this. And it was just a great experience. I loved, oh, I have that one too, sorry. That one. But it was so nice. I mean, to get out of school and to go to this place in Oregon, and I mean, Oregon is just so beautiful, and then just to be paid to be there and help people in the studio and, you know, tell them things and be on, and I just had to kind of clean up the shop, and I had a great studio and wonderful people to work with, and it felt like such an adventure to me to be all the way so far away from everything and just to pick up and move, and I was very thankful. We ready? Cool. So as soon as I got there, I was done with this humongous part of my life, and I almost didn't even know what to do. And I had committed to do a show at the Society of Arts and Crafts for limited editions series. So I started looking around my shelves, and I saw this still life, kind of just a massive object, and I did this still life brooch, and it's very small. It's just tubing, and so you become the wall, you know, and you walk around with this little shelf. And I did these series of bottle brooches. Those were the drawings that I had to submit to get in the show, and they took me, and I did those. So it was a nice thing to work on. And I also decided I was going to apply for the Fortune Silver competition, and you know, I had never done a piece of hollowware in my entire life. If I couldn't find it and put it together, forget it. So I got Len Hull here in Seattle to spin me the form because I was not going to raise it myself. I just thought, no way. So I submitted the drawing on the left, and this piece did evolve through the time. It's got a Morse code message for the drainage system. And that's it on the right, sort of being laid out for the Morse code, which I pierced and drilled and cut and filed. And you know, I got these great forms that then, this was the copper prototype that I attacked, and then I did the silver one, which scared me to death and makes me nervous thinking about it. And, you know, I had a really good time doing this, though. I just felt very focused and was happy that I could get somebody to help me make it because I just didn't feel confident enough to make the form myself, and I wanted it to look like a colander, so why not go directly to the source? And since they don't make silver colanders usually, I had to do it. So this one, I'm trying to remember what this is called. I don't remember. Anyway, I don't remember. Sorry. So after that, I was getting pretty tired of doing all this heavy, big, sculptural, gotta go get somebody else to help me in the wood shop kind of thing, and I started making these small sculptures. And I really was having a good time because it was making me feel really free. I was still looking at a lot of the same forms, but I sort of still don't know where a lot of this stuff was coming from. I just felt really free, and I was stamping some of them and just carving, but I was knocking these pieces out like every day, every 2 days. And the one on the left is called Stand Up Straight. This one's called Soliloquy on the right. And this time in my life, I felt like I was just living like a fish in a fishbowl. I had to be on all the time, and it was very difficult. Even though I'm that kind of person, sort of, I think I am, it was really hard. And so I started doing this whole series of things about how much do you want to let people see of you, and like a boarded up house, and it's still running in my work today, because I think I still am dealing with those same issues. This one here is called Cull on the left. This one is called I Have This Compulsion. All mixed media, wood, whatever, wood, found objects, broom straw. Started my broom straw thing. Tacks. Cultivate on the left. Mow is better on the right.
Marcia, what scale are
Sorry. They're like little utensil size, like about the size of the dinner fork. Actually, that is a fork kind at the top, that silver piece. That one on the left is called Superfluity Ashes. It's a lot about memory, and all those numbers in there mean something to me, and my birthday, and people's important, lives. And I just started thinking about the overload of things in your brain, and how much stuff you have in your brain, and how all these dates and memories can be just super official, and too much just overloading. So I did a piece about that, and that's kind of just the form. And here's more of the bandits here showing up in my earrings now. This one is called In the Dormer. When I lived at OSAC, I had this incredible, cool bed inside this dormer, and I just loved it. I loved the view, and I just felt like I was in some kind of novel or something. So I did this piece, and more of this kind of banding, and how much do you want to let people see? And I started figuring out these ways to connect these things, and how to get the broom straw in without burning it, and connecting a lot of things. And this one's called Contained. One is on the left is called Contained and Agitated, but Grateful, Grateful. And the one on the right, I think it's just called Contained, owned by two of you guys in the audience. It's so great. At the end of my residency at OSAC, I had a show. And it seemed like I had amassed this incredible inventory of my stuff. And I thought, I brought all this stuff out here, I'm going to do something with it, And so I made this installation. What do they call it? I said, often her mother would come home and find the entire living room rearranged. So I had this huge collection of found objects, and so I did this, and I sort of invited everybody into my space, and I made this shelf that, that's standing out there with this big hook, and that's where all those objects were going to go, and I started looking at the bare wall, and I said, I think I better put them on the wall. So they let me, and I did it, and it was fun. And I did that table when I was there. It was great, because I could just do whatever I wanted and take classes, and that one's called Table of Contents. And then I went back to North Carolina and got all my stuff out of storage, and I got in a show at Twist in Portland, the Salt and Pepper Shaker show, and it was due when I got back to North Carolina. So I had to set up a studio in my hotel room all the way across the country and make these. And they sold, so I was very happy that that effort all panned out. So these are about this big, and you take them off the wall, like Shaker furniture, the Shakers did with their furniture, their chairs, and you put them on the table and keep your salt and pepper in them when you, and then you put them back. Nice ritual, I guess, whoever bought them. And so I'm driving across country to North Carolina, in the south, and so you can't do North Carolina in the south without putting Elvis in. He's one of my big, heroes, so I got there, and I had this boyfriend, and I missed him, and I did these kind of schmaltzy parts, and Valentine's show, and, I like doing stuff like this, though. I don't know if it's my design background, or I like corny, kind of sentimental things, and it means something to me to take that form and do something. I like art, so I'll accept that. So anyway, this piece I did when I got there. This piece on the left is called a dibble board, and that's not something I did, but it was something I was inspired by. And it's a tool that, if you're a gardener, that you put it in the earth and it's where you plant your seeds. And it makes all these little fingers in the earth. And I was moving and I was putting down roots, and this piece on the left is called putting down. And I was moving in, sweeping out somebody else's soul and moving mine into it, so that piece came out of that. And this piece, I really do have these things, gates. I don't know what it is, but they're good openings and closings and barriers and boundary spatial things. So I got inspired on the left and then I did this piece. It's called Who Left the Gate Open? And these are just some pieces I made. This was for a friend who had a baby. This piece is a piece to carry a corkscrew in your kitchen. A wagon that holds a corkscrew just perfectly. It was a wine auction or something, or benefit, so I did a wine-specific thing, and that's all I could come up with. So this piece on the left is called Motile Blessing, and this one's called Rough Road Ahead. So there's this whole moving kind of thing going on here, and not knowing where I'm going, and another transition that I'm coming into, and I just felt really lucky, though, that I could just pick up and move, and I felt really thankful for it. So that's where that piece on the left came from. Then I moved back to Eugene. This is what it looks like in Eugene. So I spent a year in North Carolina on the coast, and I had a wonderful time there, and then I moved back to Eugene to be with the man that I'm with now. This is very funky. Everywhere, they have underwear like that there. They sell it. And there's this great place called the Saturday Market, and they sell stuff like this, which I really love. And I bought a few of those things. I mean, it's just a very interesting place to be. There's me in my studio. People always like studio shots, right? So, should I eat the apple or flip the 8-ball? And this is my house. More compulsive clutter organizing things and just to get an idea of how much stuff I like. I decided that it would be a good idea if I did a craft fair, and I felt like I had been working at this gallery in Eugene and being kind of influenced by sales, and so I thought, okay, buck up, go do a show. So I did this show at the Pacific Northwest Craft Fair, got a booth award last year, pretty fun, built this kind of wacky booth out of cardboard, and made tons of work and had a great time. This is, my pieces that, some of them I still have, and like I don't have that sculptural those little sculptures anymore, but I just want to have these pieces because they're a sentimental time for me. So this is a part of my work that I do that's kind of my production, limited edition. Do you want to know what these things are made of, or do you care? I mean, if any, they're sterling silver, 18-karat laminate, oxidized on the left and not on the right. I tend to lean toward dark colored things, and but I feel that if I don't do this kind of stuff too, I won't sell them. So, but I sell both. Those are like this kind of bone on the left from Africa, and washers that I patinaed, and then onyx, and then just sterling rusted steel with one rivet, and painted copper, and sterling on the left, and steel and sterling and brass rivets on the right. like. I don't know that much about stones, but I've been playing around with them lately, and I've had a pretty good time. I'm kind of rough on them, and not very conventional in my stone setting abilities, but I have a good time. And in fact, I set rusted steel on the right, and I think it's because the stone broke, and I had the stone set already, so the setting, so I thought, well, what are we going to do with these? So I made those, and actually it was one of those kind of things that now works, because I made them again. The ones on the left are my nail cross thing. I'm kind of into this nail thing right now, and I've got this man in Eugene to cast all my stuff for me, which is really great, so I have all these parts and things, and the ones on the right are gold leaf and wood and mixed media. Keith Lewis said I wasn't making enough sculptural earrings, so I thought I'd try to do some things with forms for the ears, but I haven't. That was the only one I did. I kind of stay flat with my jewelry. I don't know. I think if I want to get three-dimensional, I do my sculptural work, and there's something about flat work that I like, and layered things with textures. Steel, sterling, that's the top of an aerosol can, that eye brooch on the left, and then these are bone and stones, and I kind of fun doing those. The eye and the heart are kind of interesting things for me lately. I've been playing around with them. That's a big nail on the left. It's about 8 inches, really heavy, and I set gold and garnets. And I like challenges, I think. Drilling through steel to me somehow just makes me feel good. And I don't know why, but I like it. It's so rough, and then crosses lately I've been kind of doing too. This is just some, kind of goes back to those things I was doing at OSAC. Kind of quick pieces and just wood and mixed media, fork tines, just kind of cone-looking things for printers. They just put them in between, like old-fashioned printing. They put them in between spacers, and I like that, so I cut it up. I'm doing these pieces called noise necklaces, and they're hollow inside with different kinds of washers, and they have ball bearings, and I have some here tonight I'll show you afterwards, but I'm kind of on this series of those, and that's parts that I find. I look over, I have all this amassed stuff, and I pull things out, and then I try to make something out of it, and that's like one of those old stove handle things that I cut off and filled with ball bearings and springs, and that's kind of a big farm piece. This piece is at Mia right now, but this one is here tonight, and this one on the right is the beginning of the series that I've been working on most recently. It's called 2 Steps Forward, 3 Steps Back. Wood carved, and the wheel goes one way and then the other, but it doesn't go all the way around. You can see that afterwards. Rusted, I mean, just steel and sterling washer necklace, and it's pretty heavy. It feels good. And this one's called For My Grandmother. She gave me these pieces that are like for knitting or something, or crocheting, and so I put those in a piece for her. And these are just some things I like. Rusted steel, connections. And I think when I was in school, the guy, when I was taking a photograph of that thing, this guy in this yard could not believe it. He was like, what are you doing? Like, you'll never understand, maybe. But when I was in grad school, Fred Wool really said, take pictures of things you love. And so I take a camera pretty much everywhere I go. And I find that I'm really inspired by the world I live in, and constantly amazed at the detail that you can find. I mean, rivets, look at that. I mean, design elements and information, too. Just so much information in the world we live in. And colors rich here, and there's forms. I mean, that's like a great brooch right there. The way that whole thing is connected, and I just love space between those two forms where they intersect. And I mean, I sort of feel like if it's my job to work with found objects, I've got to build good transitions between these things. So I try. Anyway, I love Martin Furrier's work. And these are just some interesting shadows and wood constructed pieces that I saw in a magazine. And so here's the recent work, really most recent. Another gate form, I don't know what it's called. It's called Somehow They Said It Would Be Different. It is. And the one on the right is called Mindful. The one on the left is all wood, and the rivets are all, there's a whole back is back, and so you can rivet without it going through the wood. And, this is kind of a cool technique of, you might know how to do this, but you take clay and cut it into the wet clay and then pour hot wax in, and then you've got this wonderful form. So I had my Fred taught me how to do that. I just cut into the clay, into porcelain with an X-Acto knife, and came up with this rich texture. The one on the left is called Let Go of It, and so is that. That's the back of it. The one on the left is Too Much Thought. I've been into this meditation thing lately, and too much thinking. I think I think too much. And so it's coming out in my work, at least in the titles. And we still have that kind of banded series thing going. The one on the right is called Ever Have One of Those Dreams Where You Try to Run but Your Legs Won't Go? This is just a drawing. This one's called, oh my goodness, the piece on the card. Your actions will follow you, your memories will change. And I think it's about how you go throughout your life and you are the sum total of what you do, but your memory of what you've done doesn't always match up. Does that make sense? The one on the left is called Some Things Never Change, but Woolworths Goes Out of Business. And the one on the right is kind of a long title. It's called It Was So Hot. She watched from the edge, dreaming. All she wanted was to feel the cool blue. Please won't someone throw her a life jacket? Both of these pieces are about racial issues, which is something I've been meaning to address and wanting to address in my work for a long time. And I have just done it here. I probably will keep at it too. This one's called What is Comfort? I just thought I'd put it in the backs for those of you who are interested. This one's called Youth Knows No Boundaries. And the one on the right is You Are Where You Come From. The one on the left is called Obstacle. And, you know, across the board it's wood, broom straw, rusted steel, sterling silver, copper, brass, whatever I can find that suits the piece. This is called Locked Inside there, and the top has ball bearings inside it. So there's these little ball bearings that are floating around in this wooden kind of cavity. This is called You Are Your Own Tools Too. No, You Are Your Own Tools. This one's called Domestic Bliss. I don't think so. I'm kind of back to my little utensil thing. This is this piece I just did for the Mia show. And behind the cross, it says, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, on the rest of the field. Actually, I have that piece here, so you can see it. This one's called From Where I Sit. It looks like a rough road ahead. So it's kind of going back to that same kind of idea that I did a couple years ago. This is kind of an intense piece. This one's, the little ballerina spins around inside when you turn that thing at the top. And this was one of those, wish I had known how hard it was going to be, wouldn't have done it. No. I mean, it just took a long time, but it's called, If Only We Could Have Afforded Her Those Dance Classes. I'd be a ballerina. This one's called Just Lay Back and Float Away. And it's just wood carved walnut and gold leaf and tacks and an old rusted belt buckle and one on the left is, if you don't water it, it won't grow. And the one on the right is, the grass is green where you are. You can see it in real life. I have it. And these are just things I want to end with. There's rest in heaven. That's it. That's my answer. Are there any questions? If there are, please feel free. I hope I covered enough for you. It's hard to do that. You know. So you want to see some work? You want to take a break or something?
I have a question for you.
Okay.
You grew up on the East Coast, or you're on the West Coast now. How do you feel it's changed your work in terms of them being two different worlds? And do you want to go back?
When I look back on that, I think my life, just where I am right now, is calming down, and it's a good thing I moved to the Northwest, because I'm the kind of person that goes overboard, and I had a rough time on the East Coast because of the energy. And I think I could go back, because I probably could. But I think it has kind of loosened me up a little bit. It's made me, I think, a lot about my work. I'm happy for the background that I have to intellectualize my work, but I think I'm finding a place where the things resonate in me, and if they don't, I don't do it, and if it feels right. So this work, I think, is coming at me pretty rapidly right now, and I'm not, thinking about it all the time. I'm thinking about it all the time, but I'm not, it's just coming out of me. Most of that work has been done this year. The last body of work has just been done since the spring. So, and the earrings, and the other, and the life, so, does that help?
That's interesting.
I wouldn't want to live on the East Coast again, unless it was the South.
I was just wondering if, because there are two, especially in Oregon, and coming from where you spend a lot of time on the East Coast, and they're both totally different. And do you see the need to express the difference in your work, and the way, because?
No, if it affects me because it's affecting me, and then it's going to be expressed in my work. And I do think about that, because I constantly think about the difference. I think that there's not very many black people where I live. There's none, hardly. And I think that bothers me. So if that is an effect on my work, then it's something that I should address, and I am starting to. So maybe in some ways I am. I don't know. It's something I'm thinking about a lot, but I guess I just try to do the things that mean something to me, not where I am. And if it's a result of where I am, it's because it's where I am. Anybody else? Don't be shy. I'm not.
Do you draw a lot when you take some drawings and read it? Or do you ever just make a piece of any drawing that's actually at all?
Sometimes. But a lot of times, do
Repeat the
drawings
question.
on the mechanics of stuff. Oh, she asked if go ahead. I couldn't
I
say.
just asked if she does pieces on her drawings, or if she ever makes a piece without a drawing attached to it as well.
Usually, if I have a form that I think, I got to do something, it starts to evolve into a piece, because something happens to me when I pick up that piece, and it's either something that I'm thinking about that I impose in on that piece, and then the piece starts to evolve. So then I work out mechanics of how's that going to all work together? How will I make that, where will it join? And when that solder, that piece of silver goes into here, will there be a little collar around it so it doesn't look like it's just plugged in, so that it looks like it's supposed to be there. And I draw all the time. I love to draw, and I think that it helps me with the process, so that then all I do is execute it. Because so much of the stuff is thought out in the drawing that I just become the technician of my hand, of where those things come from. That makes sense? Anybody else? No? Okay, well, you can ask me stuff anytime, okay? Thank you for having me a lot. You guys want to take a break? Or
Yeah, let's take a break. There's coffee, outside and we'll set up the table.